So week 4 is over, and week 4 was a crazy week. It was the start of a new decade, and honestly, starting it off being on the WildFit challenge and doing the challenge really is exciting to me because it sets me forward for a very good positive path for the rest of 2020. So this week was a bit of a wild one on New Year's. I actually had a little bit of fun. I did not cheat or experiment at all, but I definitely used what we are still allowed to have right now to my benefit, a little too much. So this week, I didn't learn anything super crazy. I definitely learned, and I learned this one really well yesterday, honey still majorly affects me. Honey is one of those things that I had decided that I'd have like occasionally, rarely. So I tried a little bit of honey again, and I only normally bake with it. I don't just have it raw. I tried some just raw honey, and it makes me feel like I'm on a complete sugar high in the same way refined sugar does, like jittery, irritable, all the symptoms that you can think of. Yeah, it's a bit crazy. So the other thing that I was thinking of about this week is when I first went through the challenge. This week was a tough week for me. It was a week of a lot of deep detoxing that needed to be done. For me, the second time through, I am not having any extreme detoxing. Definitely noticing like some emotions coming out, but nothing crazy in the way that the first time I had like the shakes, the jitters, headaches, extreme kind of detox symptoms that lasted for like 3 days, and they weren't all 3 days in a row. Like some days were worse than others. Headaches lasted for a good day and a half before headaches kind of went away. But that was me. Everyone experienced detoxing differently. That's just how I went through it. Another thing that happened for me this week, or occurred, I guess, is I no longer craved the foods I had indulged in. And by that is mean like this week I did not crave cookies or chocolate or chips or ice cream, like any of that. It's just kind of like gone again. All those cravings, all those urges are just gone. It's not even something that's on my radar or I think about. The only reason I thought about it this morning is because I was talking to some clients about those kind of foods, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't even thought about them all week. And so that was a really kind of big win and cool moment for me this morning. Next week for me is kind of going to be another like big one. Next week I am on the road traveling, and this is great. This is like one of the best things you can do on the challenge because it really sets you up and prepares you for continuously living healthy. So next week while I'm on the road and while I'm traveling, it looks a little bit differently when you're on the challenge. For me, what I tell all of my clients is, number one, look up restaurants you can go to. Look up restaurants that have like food sensitivities, like they will cater to if you're gluten-free, if you can't have milk, peanut allergies. Like if they're an allergy sensitive restaurant, they will normally 99% of the time accommodate to whatever dietary needs you have. So look those up. Another big tip is you often like, if you want to go extreme, you can pack a blender and buy all your veggies wherever you are and make your smoothies every morning. I personally don't normally do that. I'm traveling in country. So when I'm traveling in country, like I'm gone for a week, so I'll pack like 3 smoothies prepped with me, and then that leaves me with 4 days and I don't really have them. But I do, because what I like to do is I like to look up like private smoothie bars, not like a Booster Juice or, you know, like a Tim Hortons or something that offers smoothies that just has the set script and this is what they have to make. I look up like juice bars or smoothie bars that are owned by like small businesses, and that's where I normally will go and get my smoothie and ask them to make it the way I want it and to add in the ingredients that I need. So that's what I normally do. When I went to New York earlier this year, that's what I did. I tried like 2 or 3 different ones, and I found one that was perfect, and they made like the best smoothies for me every morning. So that's how I make traveling easy. Another thing that I wanted to talk about this week that's just kind of like a bonus is how to deal with the social pressures. So with traveling, like being on my radar and what I'm doing next week, it also comes up like when you're in a restaurant. I'm going to be that person this week. The entire week, I'm going to be that person, you know, that is at the table and is asking all the questions and is making it super difficult for the waiter, and the waiter has to run back and forth to the kitchen and figure out what we actually can eat and what we can't. I'm going to be that person. And being that person can be extremely difficult for many people. And this is where people will cave and they'll give in to social pressures. And this is where I love to throw this little tidbit in there. So, you know, I should start calling it Timbits since I'm Canadian. They should be like little Timbit insertions because, you know, Tim Hortons and Timbits. Totally not WildFit approved, but it makes sense. So, this little Timbit is if you're at a restaurant and you're going to be that person and you're the one who's requesting all this stuff and you're feeling really awkward and kind of insecure about it and you just don't want to do it and you're ready to give in. You are ready to just say, whatever, just give me the pasta, hand it over, or give me some chicken strips. You know, those are always good. Don't. This is where I do kind of like a little bit of thinking about who's around you, who's watching, and who do you influence all the time. So say there's like a kid with you at the table and you are saying no. You're saying no to the peer pressure around you. You're saying no to the people who are like, oh, why are you doing that? Who are giving you the dirty looks, who are questioning what you're doing, trying to pressure you into maybe having that extra drink or having the dessert or trying a bite of their food. And you just have to continuously say no. And it is getting overwhelming, difficult, and just stressful. And clearly it's not fun to do. But if there's a kid at your table and you're showing that kid that it's okay to say no to peer pressure and it is okay to listen to your body and to know what you can eat and what you can't eat, what feels right and what doesn't. It is okay to be in tune, and it is okay for your voice to be heard and for you to stand up for yourself. What are you teaching that child? What are you teaching them? What little gift are you giving them? And in my mind, you're giving them the gift and ability to know that it is okay to say no to peer pressure, to friends, to family. And that can be huge for them, say if they're in high school. You know, it's the biggest years of your life when you're a teen and all of your friends around you are like, oh, you got to try this. You got to try that. What if they're in a situation and they need to say no to something, but they don't know how? But the child who sat at your table and who watched you say no, stand up for yourself, and choose what works for you with the peer pressure around, that child is going to know that they're able to say no to their friends when they're older. Now, this is an extreme example, but this is the example that I use when someone comes to me and says, I can't deal with peer pressure, I don't know what to do. Think of others and think of those around you, and that's how I personally get through it and just let it roll off my shoulders when someone's like, well, why are you doing that? Or, really? You have to be that person again? Yes. Yes, I do. And this is why I do it all the time. So, I hope you have a fabulous week. I will check in with you guys again when I've completed week 5. Thank you for following along, and subscribe if you want to hear more and continue learning about WildFit.